So I want to keep this streak of God, I can't talk right now. I want to keep this streak of update videos going. Even though this week was probably my least productive in, I don't know, since I've been on this streak, which is weird. The first half was in some ways more productive than any of them, but then after basically like in the second half of the week, there were some things going on in the news, and I got caught up following all of that. And yeah, it was just really hard to get back into the flow, and it was a shame because I was in a really good flow. But I got some more work done today, and I kind of wanted to talk about some of the issues that come up with that. You know, when you see these things, when these outside things come in and stress you, outside of the work, and how that's been for me. And I mean, just to speak of it broadly without getting too political, there are some things in the international news that are really crazy. They're really, I can't even. I'm mispronouncing words and stuff today. I'm just still off base, and I don't know. I might be more tomorrow, but um, I'm just gonna roll with this video the way it is. There's some things going on in the international news that are scary, and it's hard stuff to explain because I think relative to a lot of the popular narratives that come out there, I have a very unique perspective and kind of what I'm hoping for to happen, and the kinds of things that scare me. And when you're going to work every day, you still got to go to your job basically, and you still got your boss in charge of you ultimately. So you got your coworkers. You really can't fall off. Um, your work might be less quality, but overall you're going to do your job. I've been in stressful situations before, and working the 9 to 5 it's no problem really. Um, but when you're self-employed, it's it's not just that you keep the term doom scrolling comes to mind. It's not just that you keep doom scrolling, and it's really addicting. I mean that gets to be part of it, but I think how it starts is when you see really bad news. Is it's sort of an existential threat. You build your business, so to speak. Well, let's put it this way. Let's say you're a farmer. This might not be the best analogy, but you're a farmer and you're building this land, and you're, I don't know, creating irrigation routes, and you're setting up this place and that place for your different animals, and you might be moving them, and you might be working on this new barn. You have all these different projects set up, and you keep hearing murmurs about like a tornado on the horizon. Or maybe you live back in the olden days and it's like, well, there might be this roaming tribe of Indians or something like that. Um, that's not the best analogy either, because I don't know if you had a farm, if they would if you're gonna intersect with them, if your farm's that advanced. Maybe if you're in South Africa, the crazy natives are gonna come and destroy all your stuff or something. Basically, you have an existential threat to what you're doing, and beyond just the physical aspect of everything you're building that might be destroyed, there's also just that emotional aspect of whatever you're building up. You're sort of, when you're doing something on your own, it's for lack of a better way to put it, you're putting a lot of your own heart into it, and when there's this feeling that all of that can be doomed, it's hard to just keep trucking along. And then I think on top of that, the doom scrolling and all the obsessive habits kind of get built on top of that. But that's where it comes from, because I've been doing really good as far as avoiding all that kind of stuff. And I feel like if the news turned better, that wouldn't be so much of an issue. And it's not something I don't want to ignore it or act like it's not an issue in any regard, because the thing with the news is it's always like, you think about something you're worrying about 5 years ago and you thought was the end of the world. And, well, it's 5 years later and you're still here. Uh, I'd argue it's kind of simplified. That isn't always the case. Like, in a lot of ways, whatever thing you're worrying about might have whatever really bad thing might have kind of happened, and the world has changed. It's just in a more subtle way than you thought it was. But the broader point being, you're still here. But in the event that, your farm really does get destroyed, to kind of use the analogy, the fears are kind of legitimate. And it's, it's hard to stay, it's hard to stay focused when that kind of stuff comes up. Now, one of the things that I found is that there's certain rituals I can do to help myself still be productive and still do the things I want to do. And that's the whole thing I want to talk about is in a future videos, rituals and the importance of them. I mean, it's sort of like in our blood, basically, as stupid as it sounds, but for me, one of my rituals is, and this I've only really cemented recently, is doing morning walks. It's just something about that. Getting on the exercise bike is pretty good too, but just going outside and I think it's part of the physical activity combined with just the sights and sounds, and I have my dog there, so I think that also contributes. I've got something else there with me, and there were a few days where I hadn't done that in the morning, and then I did it again this morning, and even though there's a lot of stressful stuff going on, I was more productive. I had really good pockets of time where I was able to get a lot of work done. And it's weird because even though I'm out there walking and all that, I could think about some of the things that are stressing me out, but it's almost like, I don't want to say I've tricked my brain, but it's almost like there's just something in my brain or body that tells me, well, I'm going to do other things anyways. I'm going to do things I need to do regardless. I'm trying to think if there's any others. Oh, this might seem weird, but just regular cleaning stuff, habits, from cleaning the house, get up in the morning, for me, making my bed. Just there's usually at least a little bit of clutter, a little bit of mess around my room. Just walking around, cleaning up some stuff like that. Washing the clothes, washing my face, just going through a good routine, combing my hair, just things like that. Just get the morning started off with a lot of good habits. And the thing is, if you're being too mechanical about it, you're going to be like, why should I need to do all that? None of that contributes to building my YouTube channel. It's like, yeah, but you're like an organic machine that takes in inputs, and these things, they help you ultimately get to your goal. It's like, why did people do all these rituals back in the day? It's like, well, sometimes it was just, you can't explain it, but they work. They will make you more productive and make your day and your life better if you follow them. But the other side of it is your brain will tell you, well, what's the point of doing any of this if all the bad things I'm worried about do happen? And it's, once again, when you just do those rituals, there's just something that, at least for me, helps me pull away from that in a way. And something I'll mention is, I've been weightlifting. That wouldn't be a good first thing to do. Maybe if you're stronger than I am, like I don't just mean physically, but physically and also as far as will and stuff, maybe it'd work. But for me, that'd be like pushing it too far. I'm not going to have the motivation to do that first thing in the morning if I'm already stressed about things. But doing something that's a little bit lower impact, so to speak, would help. And yeah, I guess I'll just kind of get away from some of the philosophy a little bit and talk just briefly about what happened. Last 2 days, 3 days, I don't know. I think since Friday, probably I wasn't so productive. Just little bits here and there. I did do some like thumbnail work because I kind of realized what was going on, and I realized my brain isn't working at full capacity because I'm stressed. So I just pulled up Canva, which is what I use for a lot of my thumbnails. They're pretty simple thumbnails, so it works. And okay, what videos do I have coming down the road? And I just did a lot of mechanical, sort of manual labor, so to speak, and got a lot of stuff done regardless of it. Even though it was a day where I was supposed to be doing something more intensive, I'm just like, you know what, I know I'm not going to do that. Logically, I know that's not going to happen, so I'm going to do this task. And it worked. It was good to have that done. And earlier in the week, before I started getting stressed out, I did finish 2 final drafts of scripts. And the one was it was almost there, so it was cool. It didn't feel like such an accomplishment to have it done. It is a big script, so whenever that video's done, that's going to be nice. And I think it's one that'll get lots of views. But the other one was a way more intensive one. So to get that combined with another script was just, it felt really good. And I think I'm just getting better at writing scripts. And once I feel like I get more of my formula down, I want to share that here. And just another thing I'll add in real quick is something that's weirdly helped with solidifying the formula for script and sort of realizing what are the patterns of my writing practice and my videos and the format, just breaking it down in these parts. It's sort of been like writing scripts rapidly, and not necessarily writing a script to completion rapidly, but sort of like I'll write a bunch of stuff. I'll do a lot of my drafting on one day, and then, I'll do my other things on the other day. Then the next day of drafting, I'll come back to that and I'll do a lot of drafting again. And it kind of gives me a chance to basically see the similarities in the process and be like, okay, when last time I was drafting was 2 days ago. And even though it's a totally different script on a different topic, there's these points of crossover. And as I've talked about before, that's something I want to do, is just really figure out my videos and make it more plug and play as far as writing them. I remember this thing from Forensic Files. I was listening to a documentary on the making of that, and they did a ton of episodes per season. And one of the guys on the production team said, might kind of astonish people how many episodes they get done, but he's basically like, we came up with a formula, and it's not like we're reinventing the wheel. We sort of follow that formula every time. And Forensic Files has just always been one of my biggest influences, honestly, since I did a YouTube channel. It's just, it's formulaic, but it's wonderful, it's rewatchable, and I kind of strive to do that with my videos. Kind of give that same experience. But yeah, now we're on a totally different topic. Just wanted to share some things that are going on. Hope I have a better week this next week, this upcoming week, but we'll see. I'm sure there's at least some things I'll have done, and either way, I'll hope to be back here next Monday.